Okay, we are live, and you just to give you an update here, not on X. Okay. Good morning, everyone. I hope everyone's having a great. Oh, sorry, we're gonna. Good morning, everyone. Welcome. Just give us a minute. We are just having a couple technical difficulties here, but we will be up and running in no time at all.
Welcome to Continue Mission Radio with Captain James McCormick. By veterans, for veterans. Guest hosts tonight are author Greg Meekin and Miss Val, our military radio gal. Continue Mission starts now.
You got me headed to the left, headed to the right, headed back and forth, but baby, it's alright. You got me going to the east, going to the west, going up and down, cause baby, you know best. All day, all night, running around, I'm never gonna stop because you never settle down. You got me shooting into space, flying at the sun. I'm never coming back cause baby you're the
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Continue Mission. I am Val Olson, known here as Miss Val, your military radio gal. Your amazing hosts today are Greg Meekin and Captain James McCormick. You will not want to. On Greg Meekin's radio shows, he has two main goals. You get smarter and you have some laughs. You might want to keep a notepad handy. There is always inside scoops you've never heard before. Let's start by bringing in Greg Meekin. I think he's back in the green room signing autographs. Hey, Greg, do you think you can make your way into the studio?
Oh my God, you always got to start with a laugh, don't you, Val, right?
How many autographs did you sign this morning?
Oh my God, it's really weird. It's really weird. You know, I never know what I'm going to say or start with, right? Start, that's like Canadian. I actually signed my first autograph. It's weird. I signed my first autograph in 1991. You were just a little youngster. And because after publishing my first book, which you've seen before, right there, don't you love it? I had my landscaper come up to me and say, "Mr. Meekin, can you autograph my book?" I said, "What are you talking about? I'm just a car guy, you know, paying you whatever $8 an hour to do my landscaping." And he made me do it. I don't know what that book's worth today, but probably a bunch. Val, oh my God, where do we start today? I hear that we have a guest coming in later from West Virginia.
Yes.
You're from West Virginia. We'll let him onto the show anyways. Okay, we'll do that. To all my West Virginian friends out there, Geno Smith is a West Virginia college football player who happens to play for the Seattle Seahawks. So there you go. Little rapport with the audience here right out the gate, Val Olson. We have Captain James McCormick on today. I don't know where we're going to go today, Val, but I don't know. Am I the only one who thinks the world is crazy right now? I've had, seriously, since, as usual, 4 a.m. my time, I've had so many texts and emails, and I mean current stuff like, boom, the last headline, boom, the last headline. It's a great time to be alive. If I'm 66, I follow politics, I follow the world, I follow sports. I followed sports for 6 decades. But in this, especially political cycle, I've never seen anything like this. Put your hockey helmet on, buckle up, 2025 is going to be crazy, but I think it's going to be great crazy. I don't know about anyone else out there. For all the boohooing and stuff I hear in the press, oh my God, the couch fainting. Oh my God, Val. You should have heard from my friends in Ontario and Quebec this week. And I'm serious. The sky is falling. So, oh my God, I can't believe I'm digressing it, but it's my own show.
Want to get into that a little bit
Here's
because
what I'm gonna-
I understand why the sky is falling in Canada. Did you want to talk about that or just leave it for now?
I'll leave most of the red meat stuff for it. What I will say is this. Do you like me? You see me segue right out of that, Val? That's great. We've been doing this a long time. Do you know that this is show number 56 for you and me?
56.
It's been a blast. All I'll say, and I really mean it, didn't think I was going to talk about this so soon. All I hear is let's call it negativity. All the press conferences, the fly. The sky's falling. Everything's awful. Trump's awful. Everything's awful. I can't believe it. And how upset everybody is and stuff. And I'm sitting saying, wait a minute. Welcome to the Secrets from the Inside Radio Network, right, Val? I was gonna get on a chat room in Toronto, which I never do. And I still haven't. But through all the boo-hooing and stuff, I was going to say, I just want to let you guys know, and seriously here, the silent majority right now, there's about 100 million people in the United States right now. About 75 million plus or minus who voted for Trump, then another 25 million or so plus. We know we have millions in Canada who are overjoyed right now. We could do press conferences saying, no, this is great. This is change. Everybody says they want their politics to change, maybe run by a CEO, blah, blah. And then as soon as it happens, the sky is falling. That might be the line of the day here, Val. Again, I never know what I'm going to talk about. But to my friends back east, seriously, the message is, I don't know how to break this to you. We really don't care what you think down in the States. We don't care if you don't like our guns. We don't care if you don't like our First Amendment's freedom of speech. Sorry. It's in the book, right, Val? We're saying there's 100 million people right now that are jumping for joy because they see change made every day. And I mean not change to the growth of government. I mean change right now, every single day. Our expenditures as a government, our budget is going down. Every day, not the rate of growth going down. No, I mean going down and falling. Boy, I can't believe I went on a rant this early, but we are going to, where do I go from here? But we are going to have, and I can't wait, Captain James McCormick in today. And you want to hear me rant? You wait till you hear what he's got to say today, Val. And I'll bet you when you get the mic for a few minutes, I'll bet you've got a few things to say. Well, welcome to Continue Mission. This is a show on the Secrets from the Inside Radio Network, which generally we go off on Wednesdays, juggling shows now and stuff, but we're kind of going with the best of the best, the all-star crew. We've got, believe it or not, I've probably got about 9 shows pending, Val, believe it or not, but again, focusing on a couple that are right now that are just, they're it's crucial for Americans and Canadians to hear this stuff, to hear a different point of view. And you want to hear a different point of view, wait to hear Captain James McCormick. And he, as most people know, he's just an incredible, he's a war hero, fought in 2 different wars, Iraq and Afghanistan, 3-time Purple Heart winner. All of our listeners know who this guy is, Val. I got a message for the captain, actually, that we'll talk about a little bit later from Mark Lamb and Janelle Lamb, Sheriff Lamb. They reached out to you and me and Cap McCormick today. So I'll do that in some housekeeping. I'll wait till James is in the studio for that. But look at that value, just on point again. Look at that photo. That was at a fundraiser in Arizona. That would be the old man Greg, Val Olson, Janelle Lamb, and the tall one. You see the guy with the hat right there? That's Sheriff Mark Lamb. And I'll say, he's a big guy, dude. And I'm still going to reiterate, I still have an ongoing challenge in a hockey fight to him. I really do think he's chickening out, though. He might be a scaredy cat on that one. Goodness, Val, I'm going to take a few seconds. It'd be really nice. Look at there, Alberta hockey jerseys. I'm going to turn the mic actually back to you. It looks like James is not in the green room yet. We hope for him to parachute in. James, this Continue Mission show is for veterans, by veterans, and really headed by Captain James McCormick. He is now the executive director of government affairs for the Vietnam Vets of America. And anyhow, he'll be coming in soon. I'm going to turn the mic back to you a little bit. I'm going to take a break. I've blabbered here, waiting for as soon as James parachutes in. We've done shows like this before, over 30 with just James, where if sometimes he parachutes in and sometimes he can't. There he is. There's that guy. There's that West Virginia guy. I won't even do any one-liners about West Virginia other than what I've done already. But hey, Val, back to you. Val, take really a few Val minutes here. So much stuff has been going on, but I'll take a break on the blabber. Take a few minutes. We'll wait for James to come in studio. Back to you, Val.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to having Captain James in. He should be coming in soon. I was in DC. I'm fresh back from DC. I haven't really chatted with you much about the inauguration, but I will start out by first and foremost saying what an honor it was. The morning that it happened, I want to walk you through this because I was on WBTN radio network and on 80 stations in over 100 countries, and had to make some fast plans to get to DC. And so I made it to DC. I wasn't able to connect with Captain James in person, but so close, we were chit-chatting over cell phones that day. But without further ado, Captain James actually is right here. So I'm going to bring him in from the green room right now.
Well, how's everybody doing today?
Great. How are you, Captain James?
We've been talking behind your back already.
Well, that's okay.
I told him the guy coming in is from West Virginia, but we'll still let you on the show anyways, Well,
thank God for that.
Are you in DC or West Virginia, Captain?
No, I'm in DC area. I'm in Germantown, Maryland right now. So yeah, I have been swamped with calls and I worked on projects last night. Presentation for VVA. Actually had a call with the VA earlier today. The new teams coming in. So, the great thing is that I worked with the VA on a project called Veterans and Warriors to Agriculture. I wrote that legislative program back and it got passed in West Virginia in 2013. And I ran that Raising Cane Farms up until the state hired me. When the state hires you, you go to work for the government, you can't run a nonprofit simultaneously. It looks like you're double dipping and people will accuse you of all kinds of things. So, the one thing I tell people, you got to stay above board. And unfortunately, over the last few years, not everybody has stayed above board. And therefore, the programs have struggled significantly. And they struggled because it's been it's all about the me and not about the we thing. And so it's exciting knowing that the gentleman that I had worked with before is coming back to the VA and he's coming in strong. And I'm freaking pumped because, they're gonna do some very specific things. They're going to come in that, the first thing they're looking at is some stolen valor stuff, which I love going after those folks. Because they're dirt bags. Some of them are working in the system and some of them are drawing benefits. And so those that are part of that understand that justice is coming and it's coming pretty damn fast. And you will be held accountable. So they might want to run to Canada or to Mexico, that would be my advice. Shut off all your social media, shut all your bullshit down that you've been doing for the last 4 or 5 years. because it's coming, and people are going to be held accountable for doing the wrong thing. It's not about going after somebody just because they happen to be on the opposite side of the spectrum, but we're talking about freaking criminals. Here we're talking about people that have claimed a status as a POW, people that have claimed the status as a Purple Heart recipient, people that have claimed the status of Medal of Honor recipients, and they have made it somehow, in some cases never even serving in the military, and they've made it into the VA healthcare system, and they've collected benefits for it. And it's been a blind eye's been turned because there's a lot of people working in the system that are the same way. So I've identified a couple of them that I've been dealing with for the last 5 or 6 years. So understand, I've got another one that worked for the IRS, and he worked from home. And he's been running a bunch of sites and doing a bunch of different things whenever he should be working. So these people are not going to be playing around. Anyways, it's good to see it. Look, it's always good when the sheriff comes to town, and he comes to town like Matt Dillon on Gunsmoke. You know what I mean? If you ever watched the movie Gunsmoke, Matt Dillon was not a hateful, mean man. He was a fair man, but he'd slap the taste out of your mouth, and he wouldn't mind stepping out in the street with you. And we see that coming now.
Oh my God! Oh my God! Maybe the Democratic National Committee just shut that down. Where'd James go?
I'm not sure, Greg. He's still showing present and accounted for.
Maybe Justin Trudeau's out after him again or something. Oh, that's fabulous. Oh, there
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes. Oh, I was scared.
Unfortunately, whenever somebody calls, which that seems to be my life. Can you hear me?
Yeah. You're good. Keep going.
Okay. Well, unfortunately, I cannot hear you.
Can you?
So I'm going to step back in. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
He's going to step back in. Okay.
Oh,
yeah, that happens when the phone rings. But that's just a taste of the content today. Sounds like, justice is in the air and on the horizon. But accountability is so important. And if you are on the right side of the law, you have nothing to worry about. When you're on the wrong side, look out, as Captain James is saying. It's not about political parties, it's about right and wrong. So I'm going to bring Captain James back in.
Yeah, it's about right and wrong, and it's about common freaking sense. Okay? And it's about common sense. We have a serious problem that we need to address. I'm going to just tell you, I talked with a gentleman by the name of Jeremy Church, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about Jeremy's story. Jeremy was a private first class that was in a battle on April the 9th, 2004. And Jeremy was a deployed reservist, and him and I had a great time to talk about things. And Jeremy was recommended for a Distinguished Service Cross for his actions in an ambush that occurred outside of Baghdad, about 2 days, 2 days before my event at Biop. Rich Kilblane, the Army historian, says, we were like two bookends. And unfortunately, I was a deployed National Guardsman, and he was a deployed reservist. And here's why I say this. This guy is a warrior and a true hero. But for whatever reason, they looked at his award recommendation and they immediately downgraded it because he was a reservist. And then later, during the last, I'll tell you when it started, about 2008 is when, or 2007. 2007, 2008, they had civilian contractors, Serco was in there doing it, and they had a couple of folks that were in there working, and they were very politically aligned. With a certain party. Now, I'm not going to say which party because I don't want to politicize this thing at all. But I will just tell you that they absolutely shut down Jeremy's recommendation, did not allow it to go forward. And that's how they've been able to do this over the years. So it's not just that. Then we talked about the stolen valor that's occurring, with people collecting benefits within the VA and even people working in the VA. Here's what I will say to all employers, all people out there. You ask for an SF 186. You start asking these people to sign the document that allows you, and the contingency on their employment is based on if that record that you get from the Department of Defense matches the story that they're telling you. In most cases, it don't. And so you see what we're dealing with. Now, we're not talking about the person that sits in a bar and tells a story. We don't even, most guys like myself, we don't care. We just don't even listen. But when you start taking jobs and you start taking benefits and money because of that, that is the definition of stolen valor. And if you have, we're not talking about we're talking about people claiming status as a prisoner of war. Okay. And how in the hell do you even do that? I don't know, but it's happening. And then meanwhile, we have senior executives in all branches of government. This is another thing that I hope that people look at is, there's a bonus program within the federal government. In some cases, some of these senior executives are getting a bonus of $130,000 a year. Now, think about that. Their one bonus is more than what the majority of Americans make. You know what I mean? In a year. I could think of a lot better things that you could do with that money. There's a lot better things you could do with that money. How about dealing with the overwhelming suicide rate? And how about paying these, the community care providers in a timely manner and allowing these veterans to utilize services in the VA or outside of the VA, wherever they decide to go? It's not about just insulting, but it's about common sense. It's like you're paying bonuses. You got people in there that are getting benefits, and you've got employees in the system who have absolutely lied about their service record, or worse, they're running these political hit job websites and multiple X sites all over the damn place, and they're involving themselves in politics as a federal employee. There's a law against that. And I don't care if they're doing it for the right or the left. Most of them have it on both sides. They're playing both sides of the fence. And a lot of them are just grifters. They're just grifters. And they've learned how to manipulate the system. And they've went in and they've said, well, they utilize any reason they can to keep from doing it. I think work from home is a great thing. I do. I think it's a great thing. I think when you have good, trustworthy employees that will work, I work on stuff way after the clock stops. Okay. So I was writing presentations until about 11:30 last night, way beyond the time that I should have said, okay, I'm done. It's about James McCormick time now. But we are in such a precarious situation now that we don't have the time to take time off. And I'm telling you, I feel guilty when I lay my head down and go to sleep before midnight and I can't wake up before 6 o'clock because I feel like that's time, that's 6 hours that I could be dedicating to helping my fellow veterans and helping getting this country to a point to where its integrity is there, and get us to a point to where we can have civil communications that Democrats and Republicans and veterans and non-veterans can actually have a conversation, because there are Democrats and Republicans out there that love their country. I think that there's some onesies and twosies out there. I question that because of some of their decisions that they make. The fact that we've allowed politics and some of this nonsense, to fester into veterans benefits, the military award system. They need to do a major investigation into the Department of Defense's military award system. They really do. And they need to be able to explain why guys like Jeremy Church had their Distinguished Service Cross downgraded to a Silver Star, and why people were saying, well, we're going to give him a Silver Star because he's a reservist. No, he's a soldier. He was on active duty. He fought into an ambush, carried several people out of an ambush. You know, his honor is for saving lives. You know, and some of us are for taking lives. You know, but both of them are ultimately, you know, related to doing something that is so notable. And the American people should know that story. And they say, well, they know the story, but yeah, but they look at it as very differently whenever you put the right decoration on that service member for what they've done. And then I can go into a whole litany on the Purple Heart. There was a medical study. I just got that back. Over 10,000 veterans were studied. And, you know, we're looking at a suicide crisis that is horrific. And you realize that those veterans who were properly recognized for their for their service, whether it be credited with the Purple Heart that they should receive for an injury, and in some cases they didn't get, or whether it was for a medal for valor and heroism, that could be the Medal of Honor, that could be the Distinguished Service Cross, that could be the Silver Star, that could be the Bronze Star. Hell, that could be a pat on the back saying, hey, soldier, you did a great job. If they don't get those things, they're 50% more likely to commit suicide. You want to know why? Because they feel their value and their service. Everything that they've done has no value because they weren't recognized for that. Even though in some cases, guys, I have seen awards packets that were signed by 4 and 5 general officers. Approve, 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 approve. And it gets to some pencil neck that works for a civilian that never served in the military, that works for a civilian contractor, and they say, no, this doesn't cut the mustard. We're not going to process this. And that's what's happened. And it happened really bad between the years of 2007 and about 2016. So I'm not calling any administration out, but you didn't meet certain criteria, your shit didn't get processed. And that's what's happened. And I believe that's happened to Mr. Jeremy Church. And I hope that, you know, his senator is Senator Josh Hawley from Missouri. Senator Hawley, I hope that you get this message. And I hope you elevate this to, you know, President Trump and to Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, who I worked with at Vets for Freedom for several years. And I can tell you that Pete is an honorable man, and he's going to be an exceptional Secretary of Defense. I was quite shocked and disappointed to hear some of the things that were said about him when he went through that process.
Wow.
Many people do not want to serve in these positions because they don't want to go through that. You know, and I just tell people straight up, look, I've got a history like everybody else. You know, I've been divorced twice. And when I was young, I used to like to drink and I used to have a lot of girlfriends. Okay. But that does not make me a bad person, or that does not mean that I was, you know, illegally engaged in anything. It means that like everybody else that's making these accusations, you know, I'd like to look at their history. You make an accusation, we should immediately look at you. You know, we need to look at your past. And I can't remember that senator's name who said it in the hearing with Pete Hegseth, but he said he was it was just the greatest thing. And I think he's from don't quote me. I think he's from either Mississippi or Louisiana. I'm gonna look him up. But he said, "How many of you guys have ever showed up drunk for a vote at night? How many of you had to get a divorce because you cheated on your spouse?" And the place that rocked that place, because what he was doing was he was laying out a truth bomb. And it's like, you know, there's a verse in the Bible that says, you know, cast the beam out of your own eye before you worry about the speck in another's eye. Which we used to have a saying in West Virginia: you go clean your own porch before you come over here trying to clean mine. And then we can talk about how you can help me clean my porch, because you got your stuff together and you're speaking from a level of experience and example. So those are the things that are going on. And the American people, I mean, it's like we've got some folks, I don't know who runs and who's funding these protests and all this stuff that's going on. But about every American citizen that I talk to says, hey, we'd like to see a little bit of fairness and transparency going on in the government. And oh, by the way, we'd like to see, a reduction in wasteful spending. We would. And but yet you see these people that are, out protesting, screaming out in front of the Department of Treasury, in different places like that, that are like, where do you come from? And who's paying you to do that? Because obviously somebody is. And I'm just some dumb hillbilly from West Virginia that is out here operating in this, and I take a look at this and I think, my God, what's going on? It's like we're seeing movement towards a functional operation in government. And I'm happy for it. Our borders are getting secured finally. You know, the Veterans Administration's going in. We're going to start looking. They're going to start looking at who's drawing these benefits for this. We're not talking about taking benefits from legitimate veterans who have borne the battle. But those of us that have borne the battle and been shot and everything else, and we're dealing with this, it's very disappointing to find out possibly that I've got guys jumping the line in front of me for services, and I'm not able to get in, and my brothers and sisters can't get services because we may have some phonies and fakes out there that have somehow managed to, forge documents and get themselves into a system and start drawing benefits. Um, my service record, I have no problem doing an SF 186 and letting people see it. I have no problem with that. I have been, countless times, uh, countless times I've had to, deal with these issues with some of these folks. And it's disappointing. It's disappointing. I've had to face, and what they do is this is the old dirt slinging, mud slinging effort. It's like, you're coming after me, so I'm going to throw up as much smoke and mirrors and BS that I can on you. And people on social media sometimes eat that stuff up. People that you have known and worked with will say, wow, did you read that about Pete Hegseth? Did you read that about Jim McCormick? Did you read that about this person or that person? And it's like, well, I know that person, so I know that's not true, but it's on Facebook. It's on social media. And there's this crazy guy and this woman, and they're making videos, and they're saying all these nasty things about this. Surely there's got to be some truth to it. And then you go through all these countless things. You're going through all these countless things where, people are taking that and using that. So I promise you, when you go in and you see some of these hearings, and you listen to some of the stuff that's being said about Tulsi Gabbard, about Robert Kennedy, you're hearing things about all of these appointments. It's a lot of that is because some jerk posted something on social media without any relevance to truth. And when people do that, I'm all about freedom of speech, but when you do that and you hurt an individual's livelihood, it should take. We shouldn't have to pay for a lawyer to sue you. You should be arrested just like if you walked into a damn theater full of people and yelled fire, because your rights end where that individual's begin.
Wow, that's amazing stuff from Cap McCormick. Looks like he blanked out again. There he is. Those were great. By the way, Val, can you hear me? Are we on live okay here? There he is. Just as a side note, some of the photos that Val has been posting were courtesy of Captain McCormick. This was his.
Okay. So anyways, I just want to finish that up by saying that, and look, I'm a busy guy, but I'm not too busy to come on here and to tell you the truth. And it may not be the most popular thing. It may not be the thing that everybody wants to hear, but it's the thing that everybody needs to hear. So there's a difference in that. So with that, I'll just kind of back up and hear what you guys have to say.
Well, Captain, this is amazing stuff. Okay, all I'm hearing is the need for reform to fix stuff, and nothing's off limits. The VA is not off limits. The Defense Department's not off limits. Everybody needs to be looked at, transparency, disclosure, and fix stuff. Cut stuff down. On that note, and if you would, I can't believe. Thank you so much for your conversation there. And I got a number of questions for you and stuff. One thing for sure, before the end of the show, I want to take a segment a little bit about the Medal of Honor. I think all the time about Sammy Davis. And so I want to take a little bit of time before the end of the show on that. I want to definitely want to ask you, Captain, what your ideas of what we can do now, reform is on the Hill. You talked about Hegseth. I'm so impressed what I'm seeing, but I'd like you to take some time on that. I do want to take a quick second because I received a message. This was actually an email from Sheriff Mark Lamb and Janelle Lamb. You well know them, Captain. And there they are. And I'll just read it off for you. You're right there. Are you there, Captain?
Oh yeah, I'm here. Yeah, I'm here. Yeah.
Here we go. This is actually an email from Sheriff Lamb and Janelle Lamb. It came from Janelle Lamb, and I'm just going to read it verbatim. Thank you all for listening. We are so grateful to Captain McCormick for his service. We need patriots like him. Wow. Greg and Val also, now more than ever. We are doing our part on our end, continuing to support law enforcement and their families. I can safely say we are relieved to be out of politics, but still staying very active and on the front lines of America. There's a lot to do besides being an elected official. So we are doing our part, Mark and Janelle Lamb, to support President Trump and help move his policies forward. We are just getting started, everybody. So that's hot off the press. That's a tribute and a salute to you, Captain McCormick, and to you, Val Olson. Actually, Val,
I saw him on Fox News last night, by the way.
Tell you what, Mark Lamb, the thing I told him when he had run unsuccessfully for the Senate, I said, there's no lose for you here, Mark. There's no lose. You're either going to be the 51st senator in the U.S., or you're going to be a private citizen for the first time in decades. Are you kidding me? Private sector. So he's going to be able to, shall we say, market his own brand, which I joke. He's probably got a 7-figure brand, maybe 8, depending on who's helping him doing his marketing. But back to you a little bit on that, Captain. I did want to read that to you. I also, as a side note, before I give the mic back, I had some statistics from a Continue Mission program. A lot of folks. Again, this is what Val and I call rapid deployment. We've done 2 of these shows, Continue Mission, really with no notice from your original platform, which is incredible. I believe, 12 years or something, Captain? Did you birth the Continue Mission brand?
Well, yep. But the radio show went on for about 8 years. Yeah.
Right. There you go. But I want to let you know, because this was interesting. On one of our rapid deployments, because I'm a little bit of an analytics junkie, a little bit on YouTube and stuff, as you were with Continue Mission. And some just jumped out at me the other day, which is kind of cool. We did a rapid deployment on, where's my stats here? Interesting. Continue Mission. We did a rapid deployment on October 6th. And on my YouTube channel, actually October 20th, my YouTube channel, when this was posted, we talk about all the time posting and replatforming and sharing, right, Captain? Sure. And within hours, we got 4,000 hits. Yeah. I mean, hardcore views. I mean, hits, tuning in, 4,000. And get this, 55 from Australia, 371 from Canada, 199 from the UK, Captain. and it's a total of 3,965 hits. So what it means is Continue Mission is not just today. It's not just platforming. It's not just Captain McCormick. It's not just the two of us. It's everybody that are literally on a continued mission for good. Wanted to bring that up. I know you thought that would be cool. Val, quick, Val, back to you. If you have any comments on just this segment up to this point, and we're going to jump right back into Cap McCormick. I want to hear about reform. We want to talk a little bit later about Medal of Honor, but here you go. Val, back to you.
Yeah, I'm really impressed with what I'm hearing from Captain James this morning. That's just an incredible report on justice and what's coming. It sounds like, you know, we're back on schedule. This is what America's known for. We are the shining city on a hill, so to speak. And so checks and balances is the backbone of the United States. So I love that. Just a quick shout out to everyone from Alberta that's joining. We, the people, are not going to just be trampled over. Yeah. So
shout out to Alberta.
Yeah.
Great folks up there.
Yeah. So I just want to say, when it comes to the work of Sheriff Lamb and Janelle Lamb, they are a team, and all the talk in Alberta right now is the border czar. And so we need someone who's tried, tested, and true. And I can't think of a better candidate myself than saying Sheriff Lamb's name needs to be in there. And as the interim governor, because right now we don't have anyone else that's stepping up. I'm in contact with tens of thousands of Albertans who are mobilizing by the second. And so it's very important that our voices be heard by the diplomatic community right now. It's essential. So we'll talk more about the bottom floor falling out in certain areas of the White House. Not right now. I want to get back into Captain James, but I have some names jotted down, and I'm going to start naming names, and we'll talk border czar, other things as well when it comes to Reformation. So back to you, Captain James.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about, transition, the peaceful transition of power. And the first thing that I've noticed, working here and dealing in my small sector of this world, is that there's a lot of dust that's being thrown up, a lot of smoke, a lot of dust. People are, saying they're worried about their jobs, they're worried about government functioning. But has anybody stopped getting a paycheck or disability payment, Social Security payment? I don't think so. Now, those that are not getting a paycheck because they were removed are political appointees. I do think that there is there's a group, a very strong contingency within the federal government, that they're more focused on their own personal jobs and their personal agendas, and than they are on the duty that they were hired to perform. And I think that if they focus on the duty they were hired to perform, they don't have anything to worry about. But if they're involved in all these extraneous things, and I don't care if you're running a political hack site for the right, and neither does this organization that's coming in. So I will just tell you individuals that'll be watching this, because they know, you're running these sites and you're working as a federal employee from your home. I know two of you, okay, in West Virginia, and you're doing this. One works for the VA, one works for the IRS. Understand, it doesn't matter how you sound. You might be, talking about how greatly aligned you are with this effort and stuff. It's still, you're working on the clock doing things that you shouldn't be doing. And you're going to get hammered for that, because ultimately we know what you're really doing. You're really gathering information, and you're playing both sides of the fence because you're a grifter. And you've been identified and you have been reported, by multiple people. So I'm just saying that now would be a good time to really consider pulling all your stuff down. And just because you're giving information to your spouse to do it, don't think for 1 minute that you're not going to be the one they're coming after, because when you release personal and private information on individuals, and I've seen a lot of it, and I've been out here watching for the last 4 years, gathering data, because that's what I do. And I'm telling you, I don't say anything, but I'm saying it now. And people have got it, everything that I've got. And it's not a conspiracy thing. It's a realistic thing here. We've got to start doing what the hell you're supposed to be doing. Do your job, stay focused. If you work in veterans, DOD, wherever you work at, do what you're supposed to be doing. Period. Period. Take a lunch break and do what you want to do. You know, take vacation if you want to take vacation, but you can't. And let me just restate this. You cannot be on the federal dole and also simultaneously taking kickbacks and funds and money and other things, to include materials, supplies, and equipment, from a state or a federal agency or a private entity. They are going to catch you. There is a paper trail. It is going to happen. And that's what's upsetting people right now, Greg and Val, is that people have, that's become part of their income. It's like we're getting ready to see people lose, $40,000-$50,000 a year that they were getting in this scandalous nonsense that they were involved in. And it upsets people when that happens. In some cases, a lot more. And I think that if you go after and you look deeply, and DOJ looks deeply at the government bonus programs, and that's all entities. That's not just the VA. That's the IRS, Treasury, all of them, DEA, all of them. And they start really examining how much money that is going out in bonuses. And I'm not talking about that really outstanding worker, because there are some workers that do great things, but they've expect this as part of their pay. And they have budgeted their whole lives around, well, I got 30,000 last year, I'll get 40,000 this year. And that's become an expectation. And it's not. A bonus is just that. It is a bonus for work over and above and beyond. Kind of like the military awards. You go in, you get a paycheck, you get the honor of serving in uniform. And when you do your job and you just do your job, then that's your reward. Okay. And then you get an honorable discharge at the end of it. But when you do great, wonderful things that are up here, then they have a reward system. I think that the Department of Defense and all these other federal agencies, they need a reward system. Maybe it's not money. See, it was never money for the military. They didn't give you a bonus unless you re-enlisted. That's the truth. You got a medal. You got a certificate of appreciation, or a commander called you out in formation and shook your hand and said, "Great job, soldier." And those things are adequate and they are honorable. And maybe the government needs to go to something like that, because they've been so fixated on bonuses and money. We're now trillions in debt. And I think if we would go back, I did this. We're working on a project looking at the issue with homelessness in West LA. So West LA had land that was donated to the VA that was to be utilized for homeless veterans back a long time ago, right after World War II. Well, after World War II, the identity of a homeless veteran was that you had to have, credible service and an honorable discharge. If you got kicked out or you were in jail or whatever, you couldn't, make it through your term of service. If it was medical, that was different, but you would be classified as a homeless veteran. So the stipulations were a lot higher. So we had fewer homeless veterans, right? Well, in 2011, they changed that. They changed that to say if you serve for 1 day in the military, and regardless of what kind of discharge, so I could go in, maybe I went in the military, was in there for 2 weeks, and I got kicked out for drugs, or I got into trouble downtown. It could be anything. It could be, we're not talking medical discharges because there's benefits for that. We're talking about a dishonorable discharge But that didn't matter. As long as you had 1 day or more of active federal service, you qualified for the HUD-VASH program in the VA, which was a program that now designated, took us from America, had this number of homeless veterans, and now you're adding the people that didn't meet the original criteria. Now you have this many homeless veterans. So that's why when people say homeless veterans to me, I worked in that field, man. I'm just going to tell you, I worked in that field, and a lot of them were homeless, not because they were, and there are some honorable veterans that are out there that served honorably, went to combat, in some cases wounded, and they're homeless. We got to take care of them, 100%. But I think that we need to have a better definition of what that means. Okay, so if you're now classified as a homeless veteran, you went into the Army and you just said, I'm not going to put up with this. I'm just going to leave, okay, and go AWOL. And then the Army catches you, they process you, they kick you out. They give you a general discharge or less than honorable discharge. Then you go in and it's like, I don't have a place to live. Oh, well, you're a homeless veteran now. So all the benefits. So I've got veterans that served honorably that go to the VA and they can't get dental work unless they have 100% disability rating. But if you were a homeless veteran, you could get dental work. You could get all of these benefits to help get this person right. And I'm saying that's a great thing to do for those that meet certain criteria. But I'm not sure that it's the idea or the American people understand that that includes people that really didn't serve honorably, that in some cases were in for less than 6 months and got kicked out for various things. And I think that there are plenty of programs for people that were incarcerated re-entering society that would be a better fit for some of them, especially if it was something that was due to an incarceration issue. Now, I know people take what I'm saying and twist it around and turn me into some kind of a monster, but we need to investigate that whole program. How much money is going into that? Because I know that they've built entire communities to house homeless veterans. And I'd like to see how many of them would have qualified for that service prior to 2010. And I'm going to say probably not that many. And so we need to look a little bit closer at that. But we do need to take care of the homeless veteran that served their country honorably, that even if maybe they got put out after the fact for whatever reason, maybe they did start smoking weed or something, but they have a period of honorable service, okay? Maybe a post-traumatic stress issue or a disability of some sort. We need to take care of them first, okay? I'm a Christian, I'm a compassionate man, but I'm also looking at this from the side of how many legitimate veterans now cannot get services or treatment because we're running out of money and resources, because we've taken care of, 1 million, and that's a lowball figure, 1 million people that served less than 6 months in the military and got a dishonorable discharge, and they were able to come into the program because of the fact that they were homeless and their discharge didn't mean anything. At that point. So I think that we need to do better,
Captain?
honoring the honorable.
Captain, quick question. Are we going to fix this starting in 2025? Give me the inside scoop. Talk to me about DC. Talk to me about Pete Hegseth. What are we going to do to actually fix this stuff? Because this is tragic stuff. It's tragic stuff and injustices with, again, the homeless versus these other regular guys. Talk to me about that and what kind of fixes, what kind of action. I know you're active on the Hill. You've been active with legislation. Go ahead, talk about that a little bit.
Well, I can tell you that the Vietnam Veterans of America and the Military Order of the Purple Heart, both organizations are looking at this very seriously. So much so that it's going to be part of their testimony on February the 25th, both written and presented verbally. So we're working on that right now. And look, we're looking at fairness here. It's it's about just being fair and doing the right thing. Um, we hope that other organizations will jump on board with us, because there are ways that we can save the VA and perpetuate the ability to give world class treatment, because we believe that veterans deserve nothing less than the best. You know, Abraham Lincoln said to care for him who is born to battle, you know, and for their widow and their orphan. Now, obviously, that means him or her. Okay, I don't have to explain that, but back in the day, they didn't have women soldiers when Abraham Lincoln was alive. So I don't think that we need to go and rewrite what he said, but we know what he meant is to take care of those that serve this nation. You know, Born the Battle was after the Civil War, horrific war that just just destroyed this country. And I am for finding a peaceful resolution so we don't go back to that. Unfortunately, not everybody feels that way, and that's on both sides of this spectrum. And I think that the majority of them calling for civil war and calling for insurrection and armed rebellion and all this stuff you see going on now, they've never experienced what a war really is. Most of them, you know, the closest thing they've got to combat is Call of Duty. And I'm going to tell you, there is no playbacks, there is no secret skin that's going to help you, dodge bullets and all these things. You know, when you look at my pictures that are coming up, that picture of that flare, that's my bloody handprint that was left on that flare. You know, and I used it in the middle of a horrendous, hellish firefight, and because it's the only thing I could grab to shoot at the enemy, I was throwing fucking ammo casings at people. Okay. That's what combat is about. And being shot and being wounded and facing the reality of death, you know, and we don't want to see that. Those of us that have been in this don't want to see that happen. The windshield, you know, bullet went right through, a bullet fragment went right through the cheek of one of my soldiers. Didn't break a tooth, didn't touch his tongue, nothing. And he kicked the damn door open and got out and started shooting at the guy that shot him. See, that's exceptional courage. Guys like Brian Noble, that was my driver. You know, that man right there is an exceptional example of courage and decency. And we need more of that, you know. We need to recognize that. We need to recognize those people. We really do. Um, And unfortunately, that doesn't always happen. So, you know, I come to all of you, those that are listening right now, to understand that, you know, our country is in need right now of Americans that are willing to not scream and yell at each other, but let's sit down and let's really take a look at what's happening and what's not happening, and let's fix it. That's it. It's simple. You know, it's really simple. Um, and unfortunately, it's going to cause an upheaval, and it's going to cause an upheaval because people are used to getting their way all the time. And I'm sorry, you don't get your way in a fair society all the time. It's a give and take. You know, I don't get my way even, you know, 25% of the time sometimes. You know, it's just the reality of it, you know. So I think that they will fix it. I think it's going to be very painful because people are going to make it painful. Not because it truly is painful, but because it's going to be painful for those that are going to lose their positions, and they're going to lose their ability to have their side hustles. Um, but you know, they should have never had the side hustles in the beginning. Period. You know, nobody on this radio show is getting paid. Nobody's paying us to say what we're saying.
Right.
You know, and we're all taking our time, personal time, to sit in here and do this. You know, I'm taking personal time to sit in here and do this because I realize that there are rules that we have to live by. You know, we are a nation of laws. Law and order is needed, and we need to stop the chaos. That's for sure. So that's it. Yeah, I think it's going to get fixed eventually.
Captain, do you you're able to see the photos on the screen, right? Real
Yeah.
time?
Yeah.
Would you do me a favor if you would, and this is really for our first time viewers and listeners, could you just comment on each of those photos?
Sure. Yeah.
Because there's always the story behind it. You've done brief commentary already, but Val, could you just go through those photos one by one?
Sure. Well, now that picture was taken 2 weeks after I came back. So I was a first lieutenant, had just returned from the war in Iraq, and I had to go take a picture for my promotion board to get promoted to captain. Well, clearly, there is a look that everybody that has been to war recognizes, and people that see that picture, they see, I read into it because I know exactly what I was thinking at the time. You know what I was thinking when I took that picture? Let me hurry up and get the hell out of here because I got to check on my soldiers that are still in Iraq right now. Because when I left a crew of soldiers that were still in Iraq, still in combat operations. They stayed there. They transferred back to their original units, and so that was it. Now that picture's funny because that's me and Tom Salemi, and now the gentleman off in the right is a guy named Mealer. Mealer committed suicide in 2017. Far right, as I'm looking at it. Trying to think who. Okay, can you still hear me? Okay. Um, so, anyways, and then you see me. That's the short guy. And there's Tom Salemi. I grab his hand. You know what I mean? And and we're playing a joke. I'm like, what are you trying to hold my hand for? So it was kind of a comic show that we were pulling there, and that was a pretty neat thing. Okay, well, obviously, that's the Zebra, and the Zebra was a gun truck that I was on, and look, I'm trying to make sure that I get my camera back up, and I don't know why that it's not working, but anyways. So the Zebra gun truck, which we painted it with these stripes like this. We originally wanted it to be Tagger stripes, but I only had I had some cans of paint, okay? And so what we were trying to do was to make it stick out, but to also add some camouflage, because we were constantly moving around in areas. And looking at that, it kind of is it's kind of reminiscent of the way they painted some of the battleships in World War One. So, but it did help because people recognized it, and for a good reason, because the enemy especially recognized it because they knew that that we'd kick your hind end. You know what I mean? And that we were going to put the paint on you. That picture was with me holding 2 captured weapons. I had a lot of exotic weapons while I was over there. I like to pick up battlefield pickups. I probably one time had 50 AK-47s and several different exotic weapons and pistols. I used to carry a couple of pistols in the back of my pants. I always carried a boot knife, and just because I didn't want to be caught in a situation. And a lot of that came from the ambushes that I'd experienced previously, prior to this. And the fact that, I have to grab a flare and shoot at somebody, but I always had something that could hurt you or kill you within close reach. And the reason for that is because not only did I want to survive, but I wanted other people to survive. So if you look at that picture that was just up there, the background is the map. And that was an entire Iraqi theater of operation, which we operated in and around. So I got to see every major city in Iraq. It wasn't like I just made a milk run from Camp Cedar and back. I mean, I was in Baghdad, Fallujah, Ramadi, over on the western corridor, the eastern corridor, the northern section, Camp Diamondback. There was anywhere that there was a U.S. base camp or an outpost, we went to. So I made the Iraqi tour, man. I mean, and literally Al Qut and Kirkuk and all them places. Now, this picture is interesting because it's obviously, you can see that I'm the odd man out because I'm carrying a bag and I got a rifle slung over my shoulder, right? Well, Dennis Bubnovsky, who was on my left, all of my guys that I was with, they were all over 6 foot tall, okay? It didn't work that way. I just, they just happened to, they like to fight. So they were naturally, they were drawn to, this little short Irish guy that liked to fight too. And I had ran a mission. That was, that was right as we were getting ready to process out and fly home. I ran missions up until 24 hours before I left theater. And I had just came off of a mission, grabbed my duffel bag, and I grabbed that bag that I had across my shoulder and my rifle because everyone else had turned their rifle in the day before. And I didn't get a chance to turn my rifle in. So I had to turn it in, as I was getting on the plane. And it was a very difficult thing for me to relinquish my rifle to anybody. Rifle buttstock number 13, lucky 13, man. But I handed it to the supply sergeant, had took my scope off of it. And it really was like handing somebody, your child or something. It's hard for me to explain that, but it was a sad time. So I hung on to that rifle up to the very last minute. And so yeah, that's that picture. Right here is a picture of this occurred right after our big 19-day incursion, and we were heading back. And we ran into these guys that had um, that had a rifle, and they were trying to attack one of the convoys, and so we rode up on them. They were in this Datsun truck, and we blocked them in, and we took them prisoner because they surrendered. They got to a point they realized these, we're going to kill you. You got less than a half a second to make a decision. And they made a very wise decision to not shoot because we would have destroyed them and burnt the truck and everything else. I mean, it's just the way that things work. That's war. War is vicious. It is hard, and it is rough. And us, going back to that picture, that truck, what you don't see is in the back of that truck, there were a pile of dead fish in the back of that truck. And there was a tarpaulin that was over those fish, and under that was a bunch of weapons as well. So we did real good capturing those guys, and you can see the Iraqi police in front of us, and we actually turned them over to them and got up the road. And I never saw those guys again. There's a lot of speculation there, but that's me standing in the back of the truck with them. And at that point, I'm telling them both, look at the camera, and we're taking your picture. And so there you go. Those are two bad guys from Iraq. Next picture that you had up, whichever one you had on them, I'm not sure. Yeah. So again, that was the front one windshield of our Humvee, and Brian Noble was hit in the face when that happened. Again, a very courageous American. It's a shame that all of America doesn't know the story of Brian Noble, Jeremy Church, and so many others that are out there. These are citizens. They were all citizen soldiers, by the way. They were either reservists or members of the National Guard that volunteered, for deployment. And they went to war. They left their jobs and their families. This wasn't something that they did on a daily basis, but they went over there and they did not just did they not just do their job, because this is above and beyond. I would think anyways, it's above and beyond for you to get shot through the face and you to continue fighting, for the next, 3 or 4 hours. I mean, there were a lot of people that did that, and we don't hear their stories because, quite frankly, because politics or different things involve itself in the process and the amount of that process.
James, I'll tell you what.
Am I back on the camera yet?
Oh, we got your face up there yet? Again.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well,
Now there-
James gets his camera figured out. We can still hear him, but I'll tell you what, I'll put one of my favorite Captain James photos up in the
There you
meantime.
go.
Oh, there's
James,
James.
there we go. There we go. Gotcha.
I'll tell you what, we've had hours and hours of chat like this about you talking about your experiences in those damn 2 wars.
Yeah.
And literally just in going through these photos, this really, let's dedicate an entire show sometime.
Sure, whatever.
You know,
Yeah.
get Father Mike and stuff involved, and let's go through some photos and videos and memories, because there's so it's endless as far as what young people should know about the shit you guys went through.
Yeah, I was
He's got a phone call coming in. That's what's happening. So he'll be back. That's okay. It's okay. Keep going.
And James, I want to touch base. I know you're such a busy guy. I'm going to be asking Val here for a urgent report update about Alberta, because there's new news going on. And of course, crazy last couple of weeks.
Well, and with that said, I'm going to have to jump off because my time is up. And thank you for having me on. God bless you. God bless America. And if there's anything I can ever do for you, let me know. But my lunch hour's over, folks. I got to go back to work.
Look at you. Thank you so much, Captain McCormick. Thank you.
All right.
We'll see you soon.
Take
Thanks,
care.
Captain.
Bye-bye.
Yeah,
Bye-bye.
I would love to give a report on Alberta, Greg. There are Albertans listening. I had the chance earlier this week to talk to leaders of what I would call mobilization teams, that people that are not buying the propaganda. The communication is a real issue in Alberta specifically. There's a lot of activity on that end of the border between Alberta and Montana. And so the corruption there is thick, and it's frustrating for the tens of thousands of people that are without accurate information. And so they are coming to me with national security concerns, obviously, for common sense reasons. You know that Canada is one of the top countries of corruption and also illegal activity, crime. And, President Trump was talking about banks. U.S. banks are not allowed in Canada earlier this week. And so what I love about the United States is it's just very cut and dry. It's checks and balances. And so when you're on the right side of the law, you have nothing to worry about. But if you are on the side of criminal activity, look out. And so I'm kind of the go-between right now for tens of thousands of people. And it's not just in Alberta, let's be honest, it's across Canada. But obviously those people are crying out. And so I don't feel, as interim governor for Alberta specifically, because that's my home base, let's be very clear, we don't have any equipped politicians stepping up to the plate and saying, yes, I want to negotiate with President Trump. They're flat out refusing, saying it's never possible for Canada 51. That's much, much different than boots on the ground reports from thousands upon thousands of people. And so obviously these tens of thousands of people groups that encompass the A through Z. Okay. So this is all people. I can't break it down to say, oh, it's one sect, this or that. This is we, the people who want freedom. And what I'm saying is, if this was anywhere else on the planet, you would start to see the diplomatic force in the world, which is the best. Okay, the best diplomatic force in the world is the United States of America. So I am starting to say, okay, we have a communication problem. There's something going on. And would it be okay if I just kind of take a minute and get into that right now? Or did you want to touch on anything? So I'd just like about 5 minutes.
Sure. No, go ahead and take your time. I wanted to kind of get a feel, because you talked to a bunch of peeps up there, how their feeling is with the kind of little mini tariff war and stuff. But yeah, no, take 5 minutes, Val. Take your time.
Okay. Yeah. Well, so here's how they're feeling right now. They understand what President Trump is doing. So even though the TV channels that is very state controlled, or what does break into the airwaves or get the talk time, might even have criminal funds backing those channels. They see through it and they can hear what President Trump is doing. And so what's very concerning for them at this hour is the fact that they do not have any representation, so to carry their voice. So these are good, hardworking, freedom-loving, normal people like your neighbors. That's truly what Alberta and Canada is. We are physically your neighbor, but when you think in your mind of who are these people, they look and sound almost just like you. They look just like you. They care about the same things you care about. And so to not be hearing from the voice of the people, and only these politicians who are desperately fighting for their jobs and their pensions right now, there is frustration. So I'm just going to take a minute, because there are a lot of Albertans that are listening right now. And I'm here to have a serious but very controlled conversation about something that affects not just Canada, but also the security of the United States and its global diplomatic channels. I've come across something that raises major red flags, not just for me, but for national security at the highest level. This isn't about fear, certainly not about panic. This is about facts, accountability, and getting the right eyes on a situation that cannot be ignored. The way information is handled in high-level diplomatic communications is supposed to be secure, accountable, and above reproach. But what happens when it's not? What happens when sensitive communications are misrouted, accessed improperly, or worse, exposed to vulnerabilities that could be exploited by outside forces? I've uncovered something that suggests there's a systemic issue, one that isn't just a mistake, but something much bigger. So I think it's very important, with the tariff talks and the instructions of Canada at the border, and President Trump investing $200 million to aid with border security, that we really start talking about the communication and what is happening and what isn't happening, because it's not happening right now. And as interim governor, there are things that need to be established. And it's Wednesday. It's not the end of the day. My phone line is on. Okay, it's right here, and I'm waiting for calls to come in, because these are things that affect the national security right now of two countries. And my advice to the diplomatic channels is really do an audit of the team, because you are the diplomatic force, and nobody champions and cheers and looks to you guys on behalf of my country and the tens of thousands of people that don't have access to factual information. Where are the diplomats? Like, who are they? How do you reach them? At what point do we see them get involved and start making plans? I'm one of thousands behind me that are asking the same questions, and they're following behind me. So as a representative of we the people, I think we need to get some communication established. We've seen this happen for many, many years. You can take the VOA, that's the Voice of America. So there's things. There's been $200 million set aside. I don't think that if the diplomatic channels are only working with the politicians, I think they're making an error by bypassing the people. Prime example is these politicians are not able to pass anything. We know that they have 30 days. It's the 30-day countdown to freedom. We recognize what our government can and cannot do as we the people. And we need a border czar. We, the people, are saying that. But can you imagine if we weren't included at the table to be making decisions like that, just bypassed? I think that's a grave mistake. And so I think it's an opportunity, an opportune time right now to start putting. I've been doing some research, and I 100% living in Sheriff Lamb's county. I know his reputation. And I believe to have somebody like Janelle and Mark Lamb at the border to assess the situation, I mean, that's a no-brainer. So I'm expecting to hear that, obviously President Trump and Sheriff Lamb are going to make a call at minimum, maybe, and we'll see this through diplomatic channels, because that's really where things are at. The people are crying out. If we were any other country except Canada or Alberta, I have human rights violations that make China blush. So until we're going to look at those human rights violations toe for toe, okay, what do you want? Like, what is it that you require? Because I don't for 1 second want to think that what we witnessed in the USAID going on in other departments. I can't even bear to think of that. This is national security. This is our military, our US military. And when things affect them and their safety, don't even get me started. Our Army here on this side, 26 veterans are dying every day. I'm on that. And there are people that are going to answer for that. There's actually names. You don't get to hide your name. You don't get to hide your face. You don't get to hide your badge number. You are going to be famous because we need to fix and course correct whatever's going on. So wherever this communication issue is, we need to have it resolved immediately. And I believe of that $200 million that's been allocated to safety at the border, it damn well better be with a communication line that's set up so those tens of thousands of people by nightfall can get a freaking radio signal up. And if you need help with that, you call me. Okay, that's not hard. I can have that done in 24 hours. And that is on day 2 of our 30-day countdown to freedom. So if there's any issues or any clogging, you just send me what the name is, what the department is, and I'll make a call myself. And also, by the way, Rapid Response 47, I want to give you a shout out because that exists for a reason. And so to all the people in Alberta that are watching and across Canada, we are on it, okay? You keep your letters coming. You keep your testimonies, your eyewitness statements, your victim impact statements, and you are not forgotten. So thanks, Greg. Thanks for giving me a few minutes just to give an update. I really appreciate that.
Oh, ladies and gentlemen, Val Olsen. My goodness. What a great show. I was so thrilled to catch up with Captain McCormick. We do, as a side note, you have got, as you've been alluding to here, you've got an amazing big bag full of Alberta news, Canada news stuff brewing. You're in DC and stuff. And I would like to maybe do a dedicated show to that down the road, like quick down the road. But either way, so much stuff juggling. I can't thank Captain McCormick enough. I can't thank you enough. Once again, being our facilitator and trusted co-pilot. I thank all the listeners out there. I tell you what, it's been such a reach, honestly, Val, since we really started broadcasting almost 3 years ago. And I did analytics today and stuff, and I'm just I still am amazed at the reach. Just even talking about that to continue mission broadcast. Isn't that weird? Rapid deployment broadcast. We got 200 views from Australia. What's going on there, right? So I do want to take a minute just to wrap up where people can find my work, and Val, close out the show and let them know too where they can get your work. I am right now, because I do have a couple of updates here before I sign off. My website's gregmeekin.com, and for closed captioning, that's spelled GregMeakin.com. gregmeekin.com. All my works there, published works, trending stories, etc., a bio, and I'm also on YouTube, Greg Meekin, Rumble, Secrets from the Inside Radio, and on Amazon for my books. I've published a couple of books. A little bit of an update, Val, and this will be for some of our Alberta folks and Canada folks. I have here in my hand, right here, right there, the actual last book order that I'm going to be shipping to Canada. Okay, that's breaking news right there. Unfortunately, and God love them, this came out of goodness, awesome, Manville, Alberta. Manville, that little town, I'm assuming. Anyhow, just with my ebook is going to be available on Amazon and my website as well, but I'm not going to be able to be shipping books anymore to Canada. It's just too expensive. And I think this is I won't point any fingers or blame anyone, but the U.S. Postal Service and Canada Post has been really tough to work with lately. I've had 2 books disappear at the Canadian border. Anyhow, so won't be able to mail ship books to Canada, but indeed the ebook still is available. And just back to you, I thank everybody for listening in. This will be re-platformed and re-broadcast and stuff. But I want to thank from the bottom of my heart, Val. You were fabulous today. Take a quick sign out second here. Tell people where they can follow your work. Thanks, everyone.
You know,
and
I
by the way,
preferred.
you know what? I forgot. Remember, wake up in kindergarten every day. There's so much to learn and so little time, because before you know it, you're in first grade. Back to you, Val.
I'm just going to take a minute here to close out. This is a cell phone. That's my cell phone. Probably a good idea to write it down. I'm going to just do it really slow. So grab a pencil. 480-501-3404. It's because I'm not afraid to have a conversation on the record or off. But it sounds now like we have not only a communication problem, we're having some kind of clogging with the postal system. I know that I'm not the only one who sees what's happening. There are others, former intelligence, cybersecurity experts, diplomats, who understand what's at stake here. I don't need to convince anyone. The truth speaks for itself. I'm just inviting those with real expertise to step forward, take a look, and weigh in. This isn't the last time I'll be talking about this, but I'll be watching very carefully to see who takes this seriously and who looks the other way. I am not interested in games. I'm interested in truth. The right people will know exactly what I'm talking about. I expect they'll be watching. I expect they'll be listening. And I expect they know this isn't a mistake. This is a moment to decide whether security and integrity still matter. We are going to talk again. Make no mistake. This is just the beginning. We are on day 2, of 30 days to secure freedom. And I am not abandoning Canada. I am standing in the gap. So you hold strong. Prayers are coming your way. And trust me, the strongest, most capable diplomatic force in the world is monitoring and watching this, because they're watching you. So you show them what we're made of. And you keep those human rights violations coming my way. And I promise with every breath in my body that I will ensure they are delivered. Every word of it will be delivered and accounted for. And the same goes for our military, our dear vets who have served. I am right here on standby. Anything I can do to help and assist and aid in your protection. And I'm right beside you in this. So please call me, text me anytime. 480-501-3404. And you can follow me on X at Home Media Mom. So thanks, Greg. Thanks, Captain James. This is another edition of Continue Mission. I'm Val Olson, your military radio gal.